Welcome to Brandon Hall Group's Excellence at Work podcast. You will hear from industry leaders covering innovative, cutting edge business, learning, and HR topics that weave current market research and technology into each episode. Our Excellence at Work podcast is hosted by Brandon Hall Group's Chief Operating Officer and Principal HCM Analyst, Rachel Cook.
Hello, and this is Rachel Cook. I'm the COO of Brandon Hall Group and the host of Excellence at Work podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And I would like to welcome our guest speaker, Shalini Marugu, the Director of Learning Solutions at ComLab India. Hi, Shalini, how are you?
Hi, Rachel. I'm doing great. Thank you. It's a pleasure to
Great.
be
And
here.
yeah, it's nice to have you back. We just had you on about a month or two ago. And today we're going to be talking about rapid e-learning, the game changer in corporate training. Those of you who know Shalini, she is a versatile learning design professional with 18 years of diverse experience in instructional design, learner and user assistant solutions, and designing and delivering customer training. And also just a little bit about ComLab India. If you had joined us a few months back or listened to our last podcast with Shalini, you may already know ComLab or have worked with them in some capacity. They are a authoring tool provider. They help corporate learners transfer their instructor-led learning into virtual ILT e-learning curriculums, as well as conversions from legacy courses, e-learning translations, and much more. And we'll talk a little bit about, as I mentioned, our focus today is around rapid e-learning and what does that mean in the corporate arena of training per se. So why don't we get started here and what is rapid e-learning?
Right. Thank you, Rachel. So that's a question that's on practically everybody's mind, especially off late, where learning agility is has been identified as one of the top skills that organizations look for in their employees. And with upskilling and reskilling continuing to be the focus for delivery professionals the world over, everybody's in uh, a hurry to get training done effectively, shorten the development time, but still produce great results. So this is where rapid e-learning comes in. So it is the design, delivery, and rollout of courses quickly, leveraging the power of authoring tools. So
Mhm.
Rachel, while I know you introduced us as a authoring tools provider, I would say that we are a rapid e-learning provider. We leverage authoring tools very powerfully and effectively to be able to roll out these rapid e-learnings. So, rapid e-learning is you can roll out, develop, design, and roll out courses in a lot less time than it used to take traditionally in the past. And we also cut out all the bells and whistles. You know, it's a frill-free kind of a robust course that we develop. Now, e-learning programs traditionally used to take months, but with rapid e-learning, you can hit the ground running with your design, delivery, and rollout in as little as a couple of weeks. And we use a lot of tools and techniques and processes to ensure that we are able to deliver courses at scale, at speed, at value. So that, in a nutshell, is what rapid e-learning is typically about.
Right, and we see from our research that learning is happening quite a bit outside of the classroom and through various types of e-learning modalities, and with that, especially post pandemic, there was such a speed of light to transfer in person learning. To this type of environment. And so, what are some of the common myths about rapid e-learning?
Okay, that's again a good question because when this phrase actually hit the corporate learning scene, there was there was no consensus on what it really meant. And it was highly debatable. For some people, rapid e-learning just meant using authoring tools, and that was it, period. There was nothing more to it. For some others, it meant, sure, using authoring tools, but churning out substandard courses. So, there were all these perceptions, myths doing the rounds. And one of the common myths is that just because it's called rapid e learning, you have to somehow cut corners with quality or with instructional design, which is not really true, because rapid learning, like any other form of training, uh, it's not going to be effective if it is not rooted in sound instructional design, if it is not rooted in a robust process. So this myth is something that's been very hard to counter for a long time, but I think now it's like organizations are seeing the value of being able to roll out e-learnings quickly without it sacrificing the quality, without sacrificing the creativity also. I think there was a time when rapid e-learning was seen as being relevant only for page turners. You
Mhm.
just quickly turn out, put these pages together in an authoring tool, publish it, and there you go. Because since authoring tools gave you that kind of flexibility, that kind
Mhm.
of speed, which earlier programming and Flash. So we came from that era and started using these authoring tools. And there was a temptation to just quickly start churning out courses simply because you could. But rapid e-learning is not really at the cost of creativity either. And our courses are not definitely not page turners. We still use all those beautiful engagements and interactivities that are inbuilt into the tools, apply sound
Mhm.
instructional design principles, come up with very effective assessments, and so on. And your course is as creative as the skill sets, as the creativity of your learning design team.
Sure.
And
And we're seeing companies that are using about 50%. When we looked at our learning benchmarking study and we asked around what types of learning technologies and platforms they're using, and nearly about 45% reported that they are leveraging courseware authoring tools, and 42% learning management systems. And then you have other authoring tools like assessment authoring tools, AR, VR authoring tools. Some of them are already embedded in their LMS. So it's interesting, with all this, either these options available and how companies are either managing in-house or partnering with a company to help them, or both. And so what place does instructional design have in rapid e-learning? Do you have to have a lot of skills for instructional design, or what is your what is your recipe for creating the best content and
right,
quick?
right. So I would say, Rachel, that instructional design is still the heart and soul of rapid
Mhm.
e-learning. Just because it's rapid doesn't mean that it's not built on sound instructional design principles and keeping adult learning in mind. So you're right. In a lot of organizations have now invested. Technology. The investment in technology has gone up. LMS,
Mhm.
LXP, content authoring tools. However, as I just mentioned a little earlier, the effectiveness of the rapid e-learning course, the creativity, how creative it is, entirely depends on the skill sets of the instructional design team that is going to be developing that. Which is not to discount all the other roles. Without a very agile, iterative project management process, we wouldn't we would get stuck with a very long design and development process. But the heart and soul is still ID, sound instructional design, and that is something I think organizations are now seeing demonstrated, which is why there's a lot more buy-in now. People no longer get skeptical when you use the word rapid, and we use project management techniques. We use the efficiencies that come from the authoring tools, the templates, and so on to really make sure that the development time is really shorter. But IDs hold it together. Now, if there was no role for ID, then I would say it's just a production project. It goes straight to the e-learning developers and they put it into the tools of their choice, and there you have a course. But that's not the case, because you still need the ID to it starts right from framing the learning objectives,
Mm-hmm.
aligning your objectives to the desired performance, which in turn is aligned to the desired organizational results that the company is looking at. Now, without that alignment, no matter how great your course is, it's just a waste of training dollars. So, that alignment is something that happens at the ID end. So, once you have your performance based learning objectives, once you have curated the content, structured it in the right flow, divided it into the required number of modules, taken all those decisions on which delivery format is ideal for which piece of content given the audience and their learning environment. Now, these are decisions that are taken by learning solutions, by the instruction designers. So, I would say that it's a very integral part of rapid e-learning.
Yeah. And what would you say, is rapid e-learning only e-learning?
Well, a rapid e-learning course can take multiple formats, really. E-learning videos are a huge thing today, and I think all of us can attest to the fact that we probably picked up a lot of skills just by watching a video than we've been through by going through an entire full-fledged course. And
Mhm.
there is a time e-learning need not necessarily only be the kind of course that you and I have in mind with uh, the regular e-learning course, but you can have videos with voiceovers, with interactivities built in. Use that within an authoring tool, and so that it doesn't become a very passive viewing experience for our learners. Plug in the videos, but also make sure that you're testing them. You're also giving them food for thought, asking them thought-provoking questions, and so on. So that way, it could just about take any form. It could take the form of performance support as well, micro learning, mobile learning. So it can be a traditional course, but done in half the time and half the cost, or it could take all these other formats. So that's what makes it so exciting. There's not you're not stuck with a one size fits all kind of approach. You can just really play around with all these digital assets that are now at your entirely at your disposal. So typically, every training manager, every L&D professional now is armed with a toolkit, and you're it's very exciting to be able to come up with the most optimal learning solution, keeping all these things in mind.
It's fascinating. There's a lot to it, and there's so much available that makes the learning experience for the professional to develop and create and deliver. It makes it much, let's say, easier, but it creates a, a lot of more flexibility and creativity
Totally.
for learning professionals, and also for the learners and what they are experiencing. And as we wrap up here today, and as you're sharing your perspectives, what are other ways, we touched on it a little bit in our discussion, but is what are your recommendations of the accelerators for rapid e-learning?
Right. Before that, I'd just like to spend a minute on what we call our 4 R's. These are our
Mm-hmm.
strategy for developing rapid e-learning. So one of them is the redesign. You look at existing classroom materials, and then you decide whether it goes into you're going to redesign them as virtual instructor-led training materials or e-learning modules or curriculums, and or blended learning. The other one is where we take a look. This is the record option, where we have a very quick and dirty PowerPoint put together by a subject matter expert. They walk through explanations of the slides by recording themselves on audio. It's sent back to the e learning partner, We design the slides, we clean up the transcribed script, we send it back, get a sign off, and then we do it with professional voiceover. So you have a beautiful PowerPoint with design slides and the voice of the SME, in the sense their stories, their anecdotal information, their whatever makes the training come alive. And this is a quick solution for videos. This is another very quick solution for videos. The other thing is we can rebuild existing courses as micro learning. I think with time being such a huge challenge, more today than ever before, the best way to give your content a new lease of life and get more learner adoption is break it up, take a good look at your content, your courses, decide what can be really broken down into micro learning modules and use them. And the last one is republishing your existing courses for mobile compatibility. So, authoring tools allow you to do precisely that across any device, across any platform. You have to just treat the content a little, because you would want to keep it really simple when it comes to mobile learning, given the limitations of the screen space and the various devices that learners will use to access. Now, keeping all this in mind, there are the good news is there are so many accelerators. So as I mentioned before, an instructional designer, a course designer, they are automatically up to date in a sense with the latest trends, because the tool itself has factored for the latest trends and has built-in templates and assets to support that. So the tool, in a way, forces you to keep up with the trends. So even if you're hard pressed for time and you don't have time to go and do R&D out there, just exploring your tool opens up a whole range of possibilities. So that is one accelerator, the tool itself. And then the template library. Every tool comes with its libraries. And if you are sure that you're going to be doing a series of courses with a given branding, with a given look and feel, with a given theme even, you can create your own, you can modify those templates and have your own ready-made library, your asset library, your image library. So these are very powerful because you can really use a lot of themes. And most content authoring tools really have, I mean, the creativity that the developers have used to make these templates and these functionalities available is really mind-boggling. And the other exciting thing which we can use to accelerate our design and development is using artificial intelligence. Right from content curation to framing suitable learning objectives, to framing assessments, to coming up with images, suggesting, recommending images, right down to recording the audio. Now, of course, there is no substitute for a human. So, a human who knows how to leverage these AI tools can really put the can capitalize on the rapid e-learning. Like, I mean, that's a distinct advantage that we have now with all these accelerators available.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing your perspectives and your thoughts and experience on rapid e-learning, and you offered some really good advice of how we should be thinking about it. And whether you're just getting started or you're leveraging content that you have or tools that you have, or you're looking for partners to work with, there's a lot of great options out there for you. And I think just kind of taking a step back, thinking about your strategy, thinking about what's that mix, and how you want to the design, the importance of the design. You don't have to jeopardize the design and quality to have great content and to make it
Absolutely.
available much quicker.
Absolutely. And you can't underestimate the power of an agile project management process that
Hmm.
really holds everything together. So that's
Absolutely.
another very important thing to look into.
It's keeping you accountable
Yes, absolutely.
and on track. We all need that.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you, Shalini. It was such a pleasure having you, and hopefully we'll have you back again sometime soon. Take care, and
Thank you.
look
Thank you,
forward
Rachel.
to chatting again soon. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much.